how have you, as a team and as an organization, wrestled with the faith element, not just as the foundation and reason behind why you believe that the justice is on the heart of God, but how have you guys wrestled with the issues of faith, not only in your personal lives, but in the stories of your organization as you guys have become more and more of a topic of mainstream conversation?
Yeah, I mean, for us, for myself, like I accepted Christ into my heart when I was 5, and my first experience with Africa was on a missions trip spreading the gospel through a drama with a large organization. And so there was a disillusionment or a distaste for that approach to the Christendom message being spread. I felt that there was a bridge that needed to be built, and that bridge has always been getting to know individuals face-to-face, one-on-one. And I think that, like, I don't know if it was a musician that said, I'm lacking the reference, but he said, am I a Christian musician or am I a musician that's Christian? I mean, you don't meet a fireman and say, like, I'm a Christian fireman. Like, yeah. I put out fires for Christ, It's like, no, you're a fireman who loves the Lord. And so whenever there's a time to share our faith, the founders and the management team, we encourage and totally do it. We're not afraid to say, like, I'm a lover of Christ and what he brought to earth and what he's doing in the world. But there is such a delicate balance to bringing that into the work arena when it comes to the culture right now at large. And I think that there's been a lot of criticism that we've had through the years, but when it comes down to it, we are not afraid to say, I as an individual am this. Yeah. But Invisible Children it's not its mission to bring Christ's message to the invisible children. And when people say, well, why don't you bring Christ to those children in Uganda? And my answer has always been, because they know Christ far more than I or anyone in the Western world or in the Christian church knows Christ. Because that's truly all that they've ever had, and they've taught me so much more about my faith than I ever dreamt of bringing them. And I mean, that's the truth for anyone who's ever gone. They say, wow, I never went to church until I went to an African church and realized when they said, give me today this daily bread, they meant that prayer, and they're expecting God to show up in that. So we just always felt really not offended, but felt it was too delicate of a choice to put, like, the cross on our website or to put a fish on the website because you're honestly, dealing with the truth, and you're dealing with the Creator. And so to make a brand around that and for have money to flow in and out around that idea, at least in our paradigm, felt cheap or inauthentic. Right. So I think that was just our disillusionment and our aversion to that. That's just me candidly speaking. But
no, I totally get what you're talking about. I think I'm just curious. I mean, some of this is just even personal. Yeah. Like, what conversations have you guys had about the holistic rehabilitation of some of the children that you guys have worked with, and what role their spiritual development might play in some of the rehabilitation that you believe should take place in their lives?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, Dr. Ravi Zacharias does a great sermon, and he talks about in the Eastern Hemisphere, if life is a circle and then there's a dot in the middle of the circle, in the West, the larger circle, it represents the I, the me, the individual, the ego. And then the little dot in the middle is spirituality. It's our Wednesday night Bible study, or it's, the church on Sunday. That's how the West views spirituality. It is like a cherry on top. Yeah. In Africa and in a lot of the East, it is the opposite. The I is the dot. the me is the dot, and the larger circle is spirituality. Every single thing that they do, it is through the lens of the spiritual world. And so it is not like, for us, the mentors that are rehabilitating the children who've been affected by this war, it is not a question whether spirituality plays into it or doesn't.
Yeah.
It is not something like a line item on an annual report or anything. It's like, of course, you know, I've never met a Ugandan that is an atheist. They don't understand why anyone would not believe in God, because God brings the sun in the morning and he brings the rain.
Right.
And, you know, so to them, they think, how stupid do you have to be to not believe in God? I mean, they can't understand that process. And so, again, just their spiritual life is so much more engaged and involved in their day-to-day, that having like a spiritual holistic healing element to these children who've been affected by the war is a no-brainer. It's totally a part of the healing and the message. And at the same time, it's difficult to communicate that or translate to the West, who has been raised on science, logic, and reasoning, and not so much emphasized on the spiritual realm.
That was Jason Russell, co-founder and filmmaker of Invisible Children. To find out more and ways you can get involved, check out invisiblechildren.com.